would like to continue what Balázs and Anis were elaborated on, and I would like to combine this with the terms of standardization and what kind of developments do we have and what is covered in standards. In order to do that, I would like to focus on 4 areas. First of all, I would go a little bit into more detail why we need standards in management consultancy and which standards are used and are useful in practice of management consultancy, as there is still no common opinion in the profession about standards and standardization of our profession. And then I would like to go into more detail about stakeholder engagement as well as client engagement in terms of standards, what is included there. And finally, I will elaborate a little bit on the resources that are available to foster the implementation of these standards. So let me get started with the question, why do we need standards in the management consulting profession? And our core standard, the ISO 27700, has in the introductory note, in the first paragraph, 2 important sentences saying that the management consultancy industry makes a substantial contribution to the world economy. And this was the reason why ISO 27700 was developed. There was a remark and a request from stakeholders, because we are important, we are powerful, to create our own standard. And furthermore, ISO 27700 states that management consultants deal with important issues. They support clients in handling complexity, in achieving sustainable organizational growth, innovating, achieving change, and enhancing productivity. So I think these are very powerful words, and they give an impression on the power and on the power of the management consulting profession. We grow constantly with pandemic or without a pandemic situation. We grow between 4 to 10% worldwide, depending on the region. And there is one specific situation related to the market share, which makes standards very relevant. The consulting market is dominated by the Big 4 consultancy organization. And there is an estimation that the top 200 consultancies in the world have an 80% hold on the market, which means those the top 200 consultancies in the world, they have internal standards. They know how to deal with a consultancy project. They have their values described in databases. They have a knowledge management system. What is left out and left behind are the smaller consultancies and the sole proprietors. Usually those consultancy, they have to focus on the technical experience, on the procedural experience. They don't have time to establish their own processes. And especially for those organizations, ISO 27700 is a brand. And I will come to that point a little bit later on. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we have the clients. And ISO, the International Standards Organization, was founded 75 years ago. And in this time frame, ISO has published more than 23,000 standards. So we can claim no more that standards are none of our business. We are affected by these standards, either in our client projects, or we have to apply our own standards in the client project or in our organization. And this is what ISO 27700 states in the first principle at the very beginning of the standard, that consultants should maintain an appropriate level of awareness of relevant laws, policies, rules, regulations, and standards that govern their services and those of the clients. So we should include relevant laws, regulations, standards in the agreement, and we should apply and reference to applicable professional standards. So we need to be aware to select and specify relevant standards. Standards matter. They concern our business. The question is still, and it's still under discussion, what are standards for our professions? Which one are in use? And I want to give you a categorization of 4 levels. In the consulting profession, we have 4, I would say, different stakeholders when we categorize standards. The first level is ourselves. This is our competency, and I think we are all aware of the CMC and of other national or professional certifications and accreditations. First level. Second level is the relationship to our clients and how we handle and manage client projects. This refers to ISO 27700. The next level is related to how we govern and manage our own organization. Usually firms cover a standard like ISO 9001 in order to prove a management system for the organization. But this is much too complicated for us, usually for consulting organizations. So we can say that ISO 27700 gives also a kind of background for a process model for the consulting organization. So ISO 27700 is related to the client project and, in a nutshell, also to the governance of our organization. And on the 4th level, we have the profession and how we interact with our colleagues and the profession and the professional associations. And in that respect, we have 2 different standards. ISO 27700 states that there should be a code of ethical and professional conduct. It should be observed and it should be recorded in the agreement. This professional code of conduct should include the professional behavior, should include sustainability, social responsibility, integrity, respect for the profession. We are all aware of that, but ISO 27700 also states we should specify the code of conduct that is applicable to that assignment in the contract. And we can use a code of conduct that is designed by us or designed by the client or a code of conduct from a relevant professional body. We can also use the ICMCI code of conduct, but it should be mentioned in the contract. As well as there should also be a confidential agreement designed as part of the contract, because the consultant is responsible for the confidentiality of data and information received. So we should use the code of conduct, we should use a confidentiality agreement as a minimum add-on to a professional contract. So to summarize, we could say we have 4 standards. We have the CMC and other accreditation. We have ISO 27700. We have a code of conduct, and we should have a confidentiality agreement. When we now come to our main question, the stakeholder engagement and the client engagement, I would like to show you 4 principles that are covered in ISO 27700 related to these topics. On one hand, ISO 27700 requests a consultant to achieve socially responsible outcomes that consider the interest of stakeholders in order to contribute to a sustainable development, to an ethical project governance, and to align with norms and standards. This is what we have heard in the 2 other presentations, that we should engage with the stakeholders, that we should identify stakeholders, agree on their involvement, and that we should also assess risks. Which means ISO 27700 requests, I would say, as a minimum, a profound stakeholder analysis. This is also a minimum requirement in consultancy projects according to ISO 27700. However, when we talk about stakeholder engagement, there are some resources involved, and stakeholder engagement and social responsibility is a big investment. And there is a dilemma, a discrepancy, which we need to consider, because we have always the dilemma that we need to win a consulting assignment versus our own financial advantage. So if we need to engage with more stakeholders, if we have more team meetings, it's more investment, it's time consuming, and not all clients are willing to pay for that. So stakeholder engagement requires engagement with the client. We as consultants, we should enter into a discourse with our customer and make sure that they understand that we are exposed to economic restrictions and that we have to calculate our efforts and commitment very precisely. And on the other hand, I think we can also expect respect from clients that we are under those conditions. So stakeholder engagement has very much to do with communication between clients and consultants and gain an understanding of our different situations. And the good news is there are studies that are showing that customers and clients are increasingly resorting to specialized consulting companies and to those one which include sustainability and cost aspects. So I think this is a good news. But discussing sustainability issues in the consulting profession would mean many discussions in the profession. What does it mean? Where are the boundaries? How far do we want to go? And it needs engagement with our clients.
Okay. Thank you, Ilse. I hope I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Thank you very much. You have highlighted the importance of standards, not only ISO 27700, but also CMC, the CMC competency framework, the code of conduct and confidentiality. And as we all know, standards are the common language in any profession related to the key players like service providers and clients and other stakeholders. You have also highlighted the importance of ISO 27700 needs or expectations from consultants and clients, especially from the consultants, the social responsibility, stakeholder engagement, ethical behavior, and risk management, and other relevant subjects.
I think ISO 27700 is, again, a good document and a good basis for that. Even though ISO 27700 is a document that is written from the perspective of management consultancy, it gives an outline of the role of the client in consultancy projects. And it clearly defines the responsibility of consultants and the responsibility of clients in assignments. So the consultant is responsible for its resources and work. So we are responsible, we have the intellectual property rights for our know-how, for our methodologies, databases, benchmarks, concepts, and techniques. This is on us. We are the artists on that. However, the ultimate accountability for decisions, outcomes, deliverables, and the impacts on stakeholders lies with the client. The client needs to take the decision unless it's otherwise defined in the agreement. And there is a few more responsibilities that we can expect from clients or should expect from clients rather than taking decisions or decision. Of course, the client needs to select the consultant. The client should also understand that consultants, that the need to share all relevant and significant information, it's also important in assignment. The client should also understand that he should provide human resources and assign roles and responsibilities. The client is also responsible for the resources and the capacity building on his side or her side. And it's also critical that the consultant gains acceptance from the client that the assignment is complete. So the client needs to take decision, he needs to accept and he needs to provide the relevant resources and information. This is something which is related to the assignment as such. However, I think there is also a new trend when we talk about future in management consultancy, that the roles and the cooperation between the clients and consultants will change and even merge. Because digitalization means that clients can take over more aspects. They can analyze, they can use their own resources to analyze or to implement projects, which means there are new collaboration models to be expected between consultants and customers, which means that the boundaries between self-consulting of the client himself or herself, between internal consulting units and external consulting are merging. In the future, we can expect that there are more mixed teams of internal employees and external consultings increasingly working together in project teams towards defined results. And this means the new role of the consultant can be as a sparring partner for decisions, or supporting the implementation, or the development of in-house client capabilities, or even to go as far as business foundations, so that there is an equity investment of the consultant in the client organization. It's said so that there will be consultants and customers in the future will work together, we can say, in new, intelligent cooperation. And this, I think, would need another seminar and another webinar to talk about the future roles of consultants and clients. And we should also engage the clients in our future development of the profession. Yes,
definitely. Definitely. It is also in the recent discussions when we had the review of ISO 27700 and the checklist training, we will definitely focus on the client dimension with the standard and the profession, because until now we have more focused on the management consultants, but in the new period, and it is a very clear demand from all stakeholders, from all players in the industry, that we need to focus more on the client as far as the standards are concerned.
Yes.
Yes, Ilse, thank you very much. And would you like to continue with the positioning of ethics and standards in the change, or as a catalyst, or was that all from your side?
No, yeah. So I just would like to summarize, because I was talking about standards, but I would like to share with you some interesting discussion that I had with the colleagues a few days ago. Yes, we sat in a cafe, and this colleague was talking about his past and how he became a management consultant. And he said, I took over the company from my parents, and then I managed 10 years this company, and after that I merged into consultancy. And then he asked me, what is the identity now? What kind of identity do I have now? And then I said, we get identity not only through the projects, but we get identity when we are a member of a consulting association, like member institutes of ICMCI, and we get identity through adhering to standards, because standards are a common agreement, and this creates identity. So it's important to adhere to standard. And the second part is that standards are a means of quality assurance. And even if quality assurance is not a modern word, and we don't think so much about quality assurance, but no profession can develop without standards. Having a standard means the next step of development and improvement of a profession. So there is no way to not to use and to know about standards, I think. So we should all build our companies up and to make it at least ISO 27700 fit, I think.